Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. I always wonder why prejudiced people still exist in business. It seems like their prejudices would be detrimental to their ability to do business. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Kill 'em with kindness. Back in 2018, I started working remotely for an international architecture firm as the project and sales manager. We create architectural renders for a variety of projects. Our clients come from all over the world, and I manage the North American branch of the company. Our team is small and made up of myself and other women also with backgrounds in architecture. We're lucky to work with a team that's very inclusive and supportive, and our clients are great, 99% of the time. A few months into my new position, we get a phone call from an American developer requesting a rendering package. A team member from our Euro branch answers first and within 10 seconds transfers the call to our US team as per company policy. I answer the phone. "Hi, you've reached our company. How can we help you?" The caller immediately sounds annoyed but mumbles, "I want a drawing done of a building I'm making." I respond in my cheerful customer service voice, "Sure thing, we can help you with that." And I begin listing the design files we'll need from him to create a 3D render. He cuts me off a few seconds in. "You don't know what you're talking about." It's not uncommon to deal with annoyed clients. Most people are stressed out with tight deadlines of their own, so I try to be as patient and helpful as possible. I ask the caller, "Will you please describe your project in detail? That way we can create the best design package for you." He cuts me off yet again. "I want to speak to the manager. You have no idea what you're doing. I want to talk to the man who answered the phone." At this point, I figure out what's going on. I politely explain to him that I am the manager for American projects and the man he briefly spoke to works with our Euro branch, but the caller is just not having it. He yells into the phone, "I want to speak to an American." Thank God for volume controls on headsets. Taking a huge breath, I plaster a smile across my face and explain again in a syrupy sweet tone, "I completely understand, sir. I am the manager for our American branch. I can help you with your project." My motto is kill him with kindness. He explodes. "The man I talked to understood my entire project. You know nothing." So begins the death spiral. I decide to agree to everything he says. Caller, "I want to speak to someone else." Me, "Sure thing, I'll transfer you to our Euro department." Caller, "No, I want to speak to an American." Me, "You got it. How can I help you?" Caller, "Fine, I want to speak to your boss." Me, "Sure thing, he's in the Euro department. I'll transfer you now." I transfer the call to my boss's office and wait for the inevitable. After a few seconds, my phone rings again with a transfer request. I answer with a grin. "Hi, you've reached our company. How can we help you?" Dead silence on the line. Then our dear caller huffs, "Fine, I'll call back tomorrow then." I cheerfully bid him farewell. "Okay, sounds great. I'll speak to you then." Click. We never did hear back from him. It's a shame. I really do like helping our clients. And our second story. You can't cash that check without an account. We had a hailstorm in my area and my car was pummeled with the hail. Not a huge deal, as most dentless hail repairs will do it for way cheaper than your insurance pays. Call my insurance and they scheduled me for 3 days later on a Sunday of all things. Lady shows up and takes photos and prints me off a settlement check on the spot with a slight problem, being the check is written out to me and the national financing company I bought my car from years ago. Somehow, when I paid off my car, they never released my title and I never noticed. I now cannot deposit my check without NFC releasing their claim on my car, which has been paid off for at least 10 years by this point. After some calling around and jumping through hoops, I'm told if I go to National Bank, that issued my insurance check, with some paperwork from NFC releasing all claims on my car, I could cash my insurance check. Fine, but stupid NB isn't in my town and it's a 45-minute drive to said NB. I verified everything by speaking with the manager at the nearest NB and verified all I needed was the letters, my ID, and the check, and he would cash my check. I showed up and head to a teller like the local manager told me to do and presented all the required documentation. The teller asked me what my account number was. I told her I didn't have one. She informed me that checks over XYZ amount could not be cashed if a person did not have an account with them. I informed her the LM told me that I could cash this check if I showed the required documentation. She informed me he didn't know what he was talking about and called him over. They had a nice private conversation and collectively informed me that the teller was correct and I had to have an account. Funny enough, as I walked up to the bank, a sign was informing people that if new users signed up for an account and deposited a smaller amount of my insurance check, you'd get a $250 sign-up bonus. I asked what was required to set up an account, and lo and behold, it took a whole 10 minutes to set up my new account and about a week for the check to clear and get my $250 bonus. Transferred everything but the required amount to keep the account open because you had to close out in person. I think it was $10 or under. Checkmate, mother effers. I mean bankers. And our next story. He gets exactly what he asked for. This happened when I, female, 20 at the time, was a junior in college. Here's some context. I'd taken a long weekend trip to Florida with a friend of mine to visit her brother and go to the Universal Studios Fright Night Halloween event, which was awesome, by the way. We had an amazing trip, and we were on the plane about to head home. This was only my second ever time with air travel. We didn't have much when I was growing up, so vacations were not a regular thing, and the ones we took were low-key. So there I was, just excited to be flying in my coach seat, waiting to take off, and we kept waiting. It became clear that there was a problem with the plane when the flight attendants started calling various passengers to exit to be placed on different flights so they'd make their necessary connections. Eventually, after around 40 minutes, it was just my friend and I plus around 6 other people, and then it was our turn to leave the plane. We were sort of near the end of the group, tromping back out into the waiting area. One couple, probably in their mid-50s, had stormed up ahead of us, and by the time my friend and I emerged from the gate entrance, the rude husband was already berating the pair of attendants, who to their credit remained poised and calm. They tried to reassure him, but he was talking over them. "This is unacceptable. You better get me the same seats we had on that flight." He had the first row in coach, the one with no seats in front of it, and therefore with extra leg room. By then, the rest of us had gathered around, and the attendants began addressing the whole group, offering reassurances, filling us in that there was a critical problem with the plane, which made me very glad for the change, despite the inconvenience. The rude husband was going off through all of this, and when the attendants left to make arrangements for us all, he and his wife sat there, and he continued his commentary to his poor wife, "Unacceptable. How dare they? Better have same seats," and so on. Shortly, the attendants returned, and the man practically rushed them. "I demand you make this right." The attendant smiled and said, "You guys are all set, sir," and she smiled at him specifically. "I'm very happy to tell you we have a flight leaving shortly, and we were able to give you and your wife the exact same seats as you'd booked on the previous flight." Rude husband, "I should hope so. That's the least you can do." And he huffily returns to his seat. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just waiting. The attendant then turns to us and she says, "And I'm happy to let everyone else know that you'll all be flying first class with us today." Rude husband was furious and immediately jumped up to demand why they weren't flying first class while the rest of us just sat there in a state of stunned glee. The attendant just informed the man that she'd given him his request and didn't stick around for more abuse. The wait wasn't long, and soon my friend and I were boarded into the unicorn-fabled place that is first class. As a poor air travel newbie, it was like some fantasy land. Huge seats, real hot washcloths, and though we were underage and couldn't partake of the free cocktail, we did get to choose from a basket of distinctive Pepperidge Farm cookies. And the food. We got a whole meal, which was truly delicious, with real crystal salt and pepper shakers at each place setting, and actual metal cutlery. Meanwhile, rude husband is irate. My friend and I were in the last row of first class, which only had around 8 seats, and we could hear him heaping abuse on the coach attendants, going off on how those kids don't deserve first class and how they should have gotten them. They're older. They should be respected, not some kids. Someone else who was in first, not far from our original plane, caught on and was quite tickled with the man's ire. Then the best part of all happened. The flight attendant in our section overheard rude husband's tirade with language specifically directed at me and my friend. "Who do those kids think they are? Is unworthy of the honor he should have been granted." The attendant shook his head and addressed me and my friend. "Sorry about that. Let me take care of this for you." And he closed the curtain to the coach cabin. Rude husband realized what was happening, which makes it even better. I got one last look at his red, irate face before he was gone forever. It was glorious. And our last story. Ex-landlord trying to move people into our old apartment while we're still paying rent on it and keep our deposit. My wife and I recently signed a lease on a new apartment. We've paid rent on the old apartment up until June 30th, so we're not fully moved out yet. We still have some belongings at the old place and haven't finished cleaning it. Our lease ends on July 1st. We told our landlord that we'd be moving out around June 8th so that he would have time to find a new tenant. I already told him that if he wanted someone to move in before the end of June, he'd have to give us the pro-rata rent for the rest of the month and give us enough notice to fully move out, and he agreed. I just got a voicemail from him telling me that he has someone moving into our old place in 3 hours and that they're not refunding our deposit because the blinds are dirty and the garden needs weeding. Both things we were going to do before the end of the month, of course. Our deposit was $1,200. To really rub salt in the wound, the place was a crap heap when we moved in, and we made many improvements to it at our own cost, such as fixing broken windows, repainting dirty walls, replacing broken fixtures, etc. We've lived there for 2 years, and he's consistently told us what excellent tenants we are and how much he appreciates the care we take of the property. Update. I decided to go the old-fashioned route and told his wife. She said we should ignore him completely and they would pay someone to clean and weed, and is bringing us our full deposit check and pro-rata rent for the rest of the month this evening. Who runs this world? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.